Hi, this is Peter Trenaman.
That's it.
And we met at a District 32 networking event a couple of weeks ago. Peter was telling me some really interesting stories about how IT has been used in a very innovative way that is very people focused and also very lean. So I thought I'd grab some of his time, so thanks for that, Peter.
No problem at all. That's
and he'd share a couple of stories, possibly a couple of jokes as well, depending on how he's feeling. So we've got coffee in hand, so we're all good. So, Peter.
And we've got our morning faces on.
And we've got our morning faces on.
We're just saying that IT is much better suited to people on the other end of the telephone. They're not the makeup people and the people who are all beautiful and lovely, you know, sort of it's take us as we are.
But you look great today. You look
Thank
great.
But IT is all about the relationship you have with people,
yeah,
and the ability to talk to people and find out what they want and how they're using the devices. It's no longer about the actual device, the camera, the microphone, the keyboard, the portability. It's the cable. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about how you're using it and what you're doing with it to either get some success, get some performance, get some satisfaction, or to share, to educate, to communicate.
Yeah, which is how we're using it today.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's nothing about the actual devices, you know.
Brilliant. So, and we were talking earlier about Lego and how that relates to IT as well. So maybe just say a bit about Lego and IT.
I'm a big fan of Lego. I've loved Lego all my life, and the idea of actually putting bits and pieces together because they're uniform connectors, so they all fit together in some way. Some of them won't fit as well as others, and that's the same with IT. Some of them won't fit as well with others, but essentially you've got a box of Lego in an IT environment because there are literally 1 million parts, and you can get them from 500,000 vendors around the world. They'll do slightly different things, and slightly different devices do things better or worse, or do more than one thing better or worse. So it's a case of what do you want, why do you want it, and how do you want it, not what you want.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and having and I've said it on previous podcasts that I've done, that's having a trusted advisor with a communication, a level of communication where you understand each other. Yeah. That's the biggest issue. Yeah. So then you're not talking IT because you're IT speak, okay? You're not an IT person.
No.
So don't try to talk IT.
Don't worry, I'm like the yellow canary in the mine whenever IT is involved. I can test it to destruction. So if you think you've got a product that's never going to break down, just give it to me. I can break it in 2 seconds flat.
Fabulous.
So I'm your call girl. If you want that, just call me.
So if you have the importance of having a relationship with an IT professional who actually understands what you're talking about, that's the lever. That's the thing. That's the success of finding what you want, how you want it, and how you're going to use it to get the successes that we've had, and the one we talked about, which was the warehouse. Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about how that started, how you got into that, and.
I like golf, and one of my mates is a mad keen golfer. And we were playing one day, and he was talking and having a whinge about his warehouse. He's just bought a warehouse, he and his wife. It's a small third-party logistics. Now, third-party logistics means that in Perth we have a whole range of suppliers from over east, okay, who every time they send something it takes 5 days. So what we do is we have a small cache of parts or product or whatever it is in Perth, in a third-party warehouse. And so third-party logistics are the agent for a national or international supplier, distributor. So my mate has a third-party logistics warehouse, and it was all paper-based. And he was looking at ways to make it better, more efficient, and all that sort of stuff. So he's done great work to make it more automated, put some IT in there that's sensible, do some things which make it more efficient, okay? And then he wanted to go to the next level, okay? Which was start automating the orders. And that's when a trusted advisor, someone like me, comes in and says, righto, what do you actually want? Yeah. And how can we make it happen? Yeah. And so that's what we did. Looked at how his structure of his orders, how his staff were there, and how it all fit together.
So those Lego bricks again, you were looking at them little Lego
That's
bricks
it.
that you're trying to piece together.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and that then became the basis for the conversation to say, okay, what do we need to do to change? How do we need to alter our design? What do we need to allow for with staff, with equipment, with suppliers? And also, what does the customer want? What does his customer want?
So the end customer, who is the customer of those logistics services.
That's it. So they have two customers.
Yeah.
The first customer is the people they work for, the suppliers.
Yeah.
You know, the guys in Sydney with a big warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second customer is the people they're delivering the product to. Okay. So, for instance, say a hairdressing salon.
Yeah.
In where are we? Hillary's.
Yeah.
Okay. So a hairdressing salon in Hillary's, okay, will need some product.
Yeah.
So they'll go to the warehouse in Malaga or Balcata or wherever the third-party logistics warehouse is, and they'll order the product from Sydney. It'll come through Malaga or Balcata or wherever, back to here. So the third-party logistics warehouse has two customers, and it's how all that fits together on the customer side, and how the customer communication works, as well as the information.
The back end side of it,
That's
as well.
it.
Yeah.
So lots of bits of Lego put together.
Yeah.
If you
So
understand.
very, very complicated.
No, surprisingly
Interesting. Okay.
not.
So tell us more about that then.
Some of the simplest solutions are not complicated.
Yeah.
They just put the right series of things together.
Okay.
Okay, so in this situation, the Sydney warehouse has a website with all the orders on it. Okay, so all we have to do is go and get them. So we have a site, we have a script that every 15 minutes it goes and checks whether there's more orders, and pulls the orders down. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now that whole device, that mechanism has been in place since bulletin boards were invented in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's not new technology.
No, I remember those.
You know, this is not new technology.
Yeah. Interesting.
You know, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, but what is new technology is the PowerShell scripts and the automation functions behind the scenes that we can then pick that up, pull the order apart, print apart, reformat one section so it creates an Excel spreadsheet which the girls can enter their products and quantities they've picked, fire it into the back end of their finance program so that then they can invoice the client automatically. Okay. And then have everything ready so that the moment they then pick the stuff, pick the product, so then it then gets transferred to their device, which is a barcode scanner, okay, via the Wi-Fi that's in the warehouse.
So we're using technology that's existing already and then configuring it in a way that makes sense to deliver what they're trying to achieve.
A couple of key points are new,
yeah,
okay, but all this is already there,
yeah,
you know. So it's just putting the Lego bits in the right spot.
The connectors. That's
it.
You know, in Meccano, you have those connecting strips.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And so once they've picked the product, okay, the order shows up as complete. Now they need to do some processes internally, okay, and the record of the order. I mean, how big is the box? How big is the box?
Yeah.
That all this stuff goes in. Is it a little box? Is it a big box? 2 boxes? 3 boxes? And which courier they're going to use? You know, are they going to use courier A, B, or C, depending upon the day, the destination, and their anticipation of how busy that courier company is. So that's all manually input. Once the order's finished, they press all those things and key those things in on the device. The order prints out, so that the invoice for the order, okay, goes in the box with the product. Another piece of paper prints out that goes with the courier to give him the instruction.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the cost for the courier goes in the accounting system. Sticker goes on the outside of the box. But these are all just little things that are just added on.
Yeah.
They're not huge. What's the word? They're not huge steps.
Yeah.
They're little things that are just added on, and so what we did was we just put layer and layer and layer.
Yeah.
But the thing that caught your attention before was that we made a little competition with the guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is taken from a warehouse in Balcata that we put together for the team to be most efficient.
That's right. So they developed a lean process on their own,
That's
didn't
it.
they? Yeah.
So what we did is we put a tracker on the forklifts.
Yeah.
Okay. And using Wi-Fi. Do you remember? I don't know. I don't know if you paid attention. But in the old days, I'm talking about 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
There was a little measuring thing where on the mice you could actually see how far you'd travelled. Your mouse ball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's a little kilometre tracking.
Yeah.
So some people would do 60 kilometres in a day when they move their mice.
With their mouse.
Yes. It didn't count the rough treatment. So
No.
It didn't count the bounces when it damn thing
Don't
isn't
maltreat your
working.
mouse.
It didn't count those.
No, I had quite a few of those, as you can imagine.
You're not the only one.
Particularly in the 80s when IT was not, let's put it this way,
It wasn't as
not,
polished.
No, it wasn't.
That's
No.
it. So,
No, it's still working its way out.
that's
then.
it.
Yeah.
So something like that on the forklift, okay. And we put a competition with the number of items per person that they picked versus the kilometres they've done in the forklift. And then this little competition. It's nothing, no sort of value stats for the business, okay. But all of a sudden it started driving a fun competition,
Yeah.
and the owners got into it, and now award a box of chocolates or whatever to the winner each week.
Brilliant.
You
So
know,
they've created some fun use out of technology that,
drives performance.
yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And so when we spoke, I think you said that the team had actually come up with this because they'd spotted that
That's
they
it.
could do this. So they'd created their own little
And they
team
asked
sport.
they'd ask the
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
can we do it?
Yeah, brilliant.
So, and as we spend a lot of time educating the staff once the product's in place or
Yeah.
once the solution's in place, especially as we're putting it in, we put it in layers so that they understand what goes on and get some ownership. Because the moment staff aren't engaged, you lose them.
Yeah,
You can't just go and implement a whole new system. There you go, do it.
yeah.
It has to be. This is
Some
why we're doing.
organisations do that, though.
Well, you should know more than I know. But that's part of our mandate is
Yeah.
that we have to bring the staff with us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The 5
Yeah.
principles of leadership is, sort of forget yourself, train yourself up, be the leader, bring people with you, and then inspire others.
Yeah.
That's the circle. So the idea of bringing your staff with you to inspire them and to be, do better.
Yeah.
IT is not. It's the very minor part of all this. It's all about the business intelligence, and some would call it business analytics and
Yeah.
those sort of things. That could be it too. But it's about the relationship, about asking the question, can I do this?
Yeah.
And okay, why can't I?
Yeah. So it's imagining a different future, a different possibility to the one that you currently have.
And getting back,
Yeah.
that's why golf is such a great game. Okay? You've got 4 hours to go back and do all these talking and say, do you reckon we do that? No. And then you go off and have a hit of the ball and, do your little thing and then come back and go, well, I've thought about this and we can do this
Yeah.
and that.
Because
And
your brain is off somewhere else doing
That's
something
it.
else, and it gives it a chance to relax and then come up
That's
with
it.
those ideas.
that's
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
and people work better getting a little bit of information, having a bit of a walk, a little bit of information, have a
Yeah.
walk. Classroom thing where you sit down for 40 minutes, you're going to lose people
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah. You need to build in
That's
activities.
it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So there's also another one that you told me about, which was somebody who was processing the orders at the front end because it saved time and they no longer had to do that. They went on to be a forklift truck and driver, and they then came up with something else. So can you
yes.
just
Oh,
tell
yes,
that
so-
story, because I love that story because
Okay.
it's so lean.
Okay, so the idea being that one of the girls in the admin they had five or six duplicate databases for the products, one for each of their clients and one for the warehouse. So when anything was picked previously, they'd have to rekey the same information twice or 3 times or 4
Wow.
times. So they'd do a stock take and they'd be keying it twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
Now the rate and the girls were really good. The error rates were very, very small in comparison, or in comparing to the potential for the errors.
Yeah.
But when we put this new system in, when we put the accounting system in, which actually had all the components in one,
Combined it all together. Yeah.
we saved one of the girls half a day every day. So half her time was then liberated.
Yeah.
So she spent the first couple of months going through and reviewing everything she'd done previously, reviewing the processes, procedures, all that sort of stuff, making sure everything was slick in her area. Then she started going out and talking to clients about what they wanted, how they wanted, all that sort of stuff. Then she worked with a warehouse manager, and this is the bit that caught your eye. She started working out how the picking process in the warehouse would work better by putting commonly used products not right next to each other, but in close proximity.
Yeah.
Because you don't have high volume pick bays right next to each other. You have them separated slightly. Okay.
Presumably that's so that the forklift can get in between.
No. It's all about human nature.
Oh.
If you've got two high pick bays right next to each other, the potential for confusion.
Oh.
You get the wrong one in a while you're being quite fast. Okay. But if they're slightly separated.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I learned
love
that.
It.
I learned that from the warehouse manager.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
that's behavioural science as well, giving you nudges as well, which is brilliant. Carl, you didn't know any of this, did you?
No.
But you did really, because obviously you wouldn't have been telling me the story if you didn't really know this, but you just maybe didn't know that's what it was called. But yes, a nudge.
That's it.
Yeah.
So she's now part of the competition, okay, because her job is to make sure that the overall averages of everybody is better. Okay.
So they're lifting their average, so they're getting that incremental increase, which overall will mean a massive increase.
And then part of her tracking is to see how efficiently she can move the large pallets into the pick areas, being more efficient. So her job is to minimise her forklift time and her forklift kilometres to do the same job. Okay. Not to do as many as she can.
Yeah.
It's not bigger is better. It's smaller is better.
Yeah.
So she's on an opposite measuring stick.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done some injustice to the details to tell you the concepts.
Overall story. But no, it's amazing, because what she's actually done is she's organised the work in a way that makes the most efficient use of the process, which is very lean.
That's it.
And what I took from the story when you told me the first time is that the people in the warehouse are also empowered to organise their own work, which again is very lean.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. And I think what was great was actually talking to somebody who's Perth-based and listening that we've actually got these stories in Perth and we don't get to know about them.
We don't need to go, to Sydney, Melbourne, New York, London, to have them. They're all here.
They are.
And Australia's such an innovative place, okay, and we regularly forget. And we're not like some other nationalities that spruik ourselves and tell everybody how great we are. We're quietly just getting on with the job, doing things better.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the Australian way of doing things. We are very good at thinking of ways to do things better.
Yeah.
And our propensity to want to knock off at 5 and go and do something reasonable.
Go to the beach.
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah.
Not in the winter months, because it's not been great, but
Don't
usually.
knock that.
True, it's not snowing, so that's always the plus.
The wanting to go and do something else that's not work.
Yeah.
Get
There's
out of
that
the
balance.
office. Yeah. And making sure you can do what you need to do and get out the door. Means you got the performance and the satisfaction, but then also the satisfaction to get out.
Yeah, people have got that sort of. It's not all about work. It's about having that balance, and having something outside of work that's going to be really.
And Perth is a lifestyle city.
It is.
Okay, we live because of we're here. People don't understand it.
Yeah.
But if you go down one of the parks near where I live, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get trampled.
Yes. Same where I live as well.
There are literally thousands of people running around.
Yeah.
And if we had daylight saving, they'd be running around in the dark.
Yeah.
And nobody likes doing that. And
quite a few people do run in the dark where I live, though, so they do. I never understand that, but that's
But sidetracking a little bit, but coming back to the point where we're very good at thinking different ways of doing things. And IT especially so.
Yeah.
Because in IT there are no rules. We start off with the premise that there are no rules. So what can we fit in and why can't we do it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's always looking at the customer's problem and trying to help them solve that problem. And also, from what you were saying about your golf buddy, it's about helping them understand what the problem is.
That's it.
What is it you're actually trying to do here? So what is that real problem? Okay, well, now we understand that.
That's it.
Now we can understand what we need to do to help you put all those Lego pieces
That's
together.
It. About probably, I'd suggest more than half of our job is actually finding the problem, and that's the hardest bit. It's not trackable. It's not tangible. We can't, we can't assess it. That troubleshooting point.
Yeah.
Once we know what the problem is, okay, then usually the solution is very quick to come by.
Yeah.
But trying to convince someone, it takes an hour to work out what the problem is, and it's like, but that doesn't work. But why?
Yeah.
What are we fixing?
Yeah.
Are we, if it's a printer, for instance, are we fixing the toner? Are we fixing the paper? Are we fixing the feed? Are we fixing the cable, the network, the print driver, the server? What are we fixing?
In my case, it's all of the above. Usually.
But it's not.
No, I know, but that's what it sometimes feels like. But yeah, you're right. And I think organisations don't spend enough time on that problem clarity. They don't understand, well, why are we trying to do this? What is it we're actually trying to achieve here? And why is that a problem currently? What's it stopping us from doing? So you're kind of doing a coaching role as well with your clients to help them actually surface
I should charge more, you're saying?
I couldn't possibly comment. Sorry about that, clients. But that's part of what you're doing is that consultancy piece, isn't it, up front? Because you can't, you could recommend any IT product, but you've got no idea if it's going to help them because you don't really understand what it is that product is meant to do. It's going back to that Lego. Some bits connect, but they don't connect as well.
No.
So you need to understand what that connection piece is before you pick the block.
Exactly. That's it. And that's why it's also important for my clients. I say to them, don't you try to talk IT.
Yeah.
Okay? You're a change specialist. You talk your language, and I'll interpret.
Yeah.
I'll do the interpreting.
Yeah.
IT's my language. I don't want you trying to talk up my language because you'll just get it wrong.
It'll just sound gibberish anyway.
As I say,
probably with a few swear words in there as well.
I have enough problems with people. When I start speaking and people's eyes roll back in their heads and they get their glazed look on their face if you're talking IT.
Yeah.
But if we're talking change management and what do you want?
Yeah.
You're then engaged.
Yeah.
And you're interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you'll tell me what you actually need, and then we'll try and find that.
Yeah. And so when we were chatting before we started the recording, we were talking about that, the importance of understanding the context in which you're going into. That's really key, and it's the same with change. If you don't understand the context, what is it that the organisation's trying to achieve? Why do they think in what way are they going to change? What's that about? What's the context for that? You kind of will, pick anything. It could be anything, but we need to know what's the context.
That's
first. And I think, I don't know, maybe because people have a sort of a natural inclination towards action, they want to be doing something rather than thinking about it first before they're doing it. I don't know what your experience is.
There is a tendency to be change averse, so they don't want to change what they're doing, but they don't want just sitting around. Don't want to be just sitting around talking about it.
Yeah.
Although some people do want to sit and talk about it.
That's true, yes.
Present company accept. There's reasons we're doing it. But when it comes to, do you actually want to do it and get on with it? Yeah. Or not? Yeah. And the Australian paradigm, the Australian, I've forgotten the word, is to, look, just get on with it and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop fluffing around and get on with it.
Yeah. And sometimes that can lead you down the wrong path. We were talking about road gaining actually, so this is quite relevant for road gaining, I feel, without having done it. But
we don't want to bore you.
Living vicariously through my husband.
Please excuse me. I didn't want to bore anybody.
It's all good stuff. So road gaining is, like you were saying, when you're dusk and dawn, when your cognitive abilities are maybe impaired, either by being tired or because of what's happening environmentally. Yeah. You've then got lots of options, and sometimes you just carry on going. Because and my husband's told me they've carried on walking, they've gone 5 kilometres down the track, realised that they were in the wrong spot. And if they just spent a few minutes thinking through what they're going to do. And that I actually think that's a really good metaphor for what happens in organisations.
Yes, you're probably right. Yeah, I mean, road gaining is a lot about planning and then execution and staying diligent and focused. But it's hard to stay diligent and focused for 22 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to give yourself breaks.
Yeah.
But it's catching yourself taking the break at a vital point.
Yeah.
Now, in IT and change, you have teams and you have mechanisms around catching that point. But you're right, the metaphor is the same. But getting on with it in a hurry is a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, sometimes it is worth having 5-minute chat about what are we expecting, what are we doing, how we, you know, what do we want the outcome to be.
Yeah.
And not just hurrying down to the shop and buying the new, brightest, spangliest.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can tell you stories about, when we're off camera, about some situations around that. But that's beside what
You know,
I'm thinking COVID.
this is not a confessional, you know.
No,
you
it's
don't
not a
have to
confessional, I
confess.
know. So I'm thinking, because we were saying earlier about in COVID that your hours that your team worked, actually the overtime equated to the actual paid hours. So, and then we talked a bit about breaks. So do you want to maybe say something more about how you...
The amount of stress that all the IT companies in the world suffered as a result of everybody being sent home and then not having the same ability to do things at work as they have at home. Some of that's due to environmental conditions at home, husband and wife working together that they hadn't previously worked. I mean, or husband and wife have the kids as well.
Yep.
And so you don't get the quiet space, the thinking space. That causes frustration, which IT is unable to affect.
Yeah.
It's exceedingly stressful for support people because having an environmental factor that they can't affect that's causing a great deal of tension on the initial problem of what is otherwise a small problem. You know, my printer won't print. Well, okay. No, but it's not. It's not my print.
Been there. Particularly when you need the printer to print, that's when it doesn't print.
That's it.
It seems to know.
Well, there's a little button in there. I mean, a photocopy salesman years and years ago says there's what do you call it? Something like an urgency sensor. So the more urgent it is, the slower it went.
I'm convinced they exist. Or maybe we don't need to start that conspiracy theory. Hey, maybe not. Let's do that.
No. So my guys are fabulous. You know, I've got a good team and they work well together. But when everybody was sent home, we were just stressed because we were also suffering the same anxiety and stress that everybody else was suffering. We had to put that aside and then deal. And some of my guys were counselling people on how to manage their household.
Wow.
I mean, you know, what does a 9 or a 25-year-old know about managing a household with, a husband and wife and 3 kids? Nothing.
Yeah.
So you know, you're crossing that and there's stress. And so essentially we started doing those rotating breaks and forcing everybody to have a week off to say de-stress. And as I said to you, I have the ability to lock people out. And so like the warning was, you go home, you take a break, and if I find you logging in, I will change your password.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Yeah.
You know? And human nature is, I want to finish it, I want to do it, I'm caring about my clients and all that sort of stuff. And it's the same reason why I don't share, and my staff don't share their personal mobiles. Okay, because some customers don't know the lines.
Yeah.
Okay, so I share my mobile and the after hours mobile are the only mobiles that are shared. Okay, because they can be turned off and distributed to someone else, so that my staff can have some time off and have a break. And those sort of mechanisms in place make a great deal of difference. But it's something you have to keep reminding the staff about because they forget. They get caught up in the concern because support staff, for all the geekiness, they're still empathetic.
They want to deliver a good
That's
service,
it.
don't they?
That's it. And they're concerned about the person. Because it's their relationship. You know. And the best teams have good relationships with their clients. You know. And I'm very fortunate like that I have a good team like that. But turning that off when it's time to go home is not just a switch. It has to be trained to behaviour. And this is what you coming back to your when we met, you were speaking about the trained behaviour of actually providing protective spaces vents and avenues for release and relief. So yeah.
Yeah, no, creating that safe space so that people can actually do their best work.
That's it.
Yeah, brilliant. So, Peter, just to round off the conversation, it's been fantastic.
A ramble.
I loved it. I like, using humour is, as I said in the talk, is actually one of the key things, because it releases creativity, and it also it's a great connection builder, and also hopefully makes it more interesting for people listening as well. So, anything that you want to say, sort of finally, about what you do? Any sort of final thoughts around what we've talked about?
Yeah, my mandate to everybody is actually find someone who you connect with and talk to them about IT. Don't try and do IT as well.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are interested in it and they do okay, but there's a lot of people, and you're a great example. You understand some of it, okay, but once it goes beyond a certain point, it just causes you frustration and headache.
Yeah.
And it's better that you have someone, a trusted advisor, that you go, here, fix it. You know, and yes, that will cost you money. Pay the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it costs you in the long run, doesn't it?
Well,
yeah.
Stress, time, anxiety, lack of performance, you know, all the other things that stand in the way of your creativity, your effectiveness as a person, as a work person, you know, all those things.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And if you come forward as a positive person, full of energy, full of life, directing what you want, knowing that this bit is delegated, and so you're happy, safe, then that's a much better outcome.
Job done.
Absolutely.
So a trusted IT partner, that's what you are.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Well, hopefully.
I'm sure you are. Based on our conversations that we've had, I would say definitely.
Thank you.
So thanks ever so much.
No